Hey all, it's Dinosa here with Diary of Wimpy Kid 3. As you can see, it's a nice summer day, and I went early in the morning to get this taken care of, and I said I'd do it, and here I am. Overall, I would say that this film was actually probably the more entertaining than of all the Diary of Wimpy Kids I've seen. I would say that it was definitely less what I talked about in my last review, or it was just like questionable on that. There are a couple of questionable scenes, but they really toned it down a lot more, which was really cool of them. Except there was one scene which was really blatantly bad, but it was just so friggin' funny that involves Roderick's, no, the kid Roderick's, well, the Wimpy Kid's brother Roderick, crying a little wolf to try to get some cute lifeguard's attention, and then this old bastard who unfortunately has shaved head and a gray goatee saves him, and he's like, get away, get away. And then he's like trying to do CPR on him. It was actually really fun. That was really funny. Just seeing his face, it was just, you know what, and it's one of those things, you get what you deserve. You pull that kind of stuff, and that's the kind of stuff that may or may not happen. So you roll those dice, you see what can happen sometimes. But overall, the film starts is that the summer is just starting for him, and the Wimpy Kid now wants to take the girl that he's interested in to the next level. But the only thing here is this is the typical almost out of middle school, beginning of high school flick where the parents try to just put all sorts of work on the kid. And I mean, honestly, let's be real for a moment about this kind of thing. First of all, the whole concept of summer in the United States actually started with helping the families harvest. That was really what it was all from, is during that time was the harvest, and the families needed the kids' help. However, in today's technology in these areas, it's not that realistic anymore. And I would say in Europe, I think they have these huge vacation blocks where it's like 6 weeks at a time. You have 6 weeks for summer, 6 weeks for winter, and I think 6 weeks for spring, which overall make more sense on that. That way the child retains more knowledge. But this is a movie, so that's another subject here. And I know it's easy for me to say that when I've had my 3 months of plus for 20 years on summer. It's easy, but unfortunately it's probably not. It's eventually it's going to be phased out. But anyway, back to the movie. What the film talks about is the typical antics of coming of age, where the parents are just completely clueless of what the kid is going. But at the same time, the kid doesn't want to tell his parents what he's trying to do because he doesn't want them to rain on his parade, which is understandable. So in this case, the Wimpy Kid actually confides with Roderick a little more, his brother, to tell what's going on. So throughout the film, he goes to a community pool. He has all the typical hijinks. The little brother pees in the pool, gets lost in the men's shower, blah, blah, blah. And the pool's like super crowded on opening day. And of course, it's like free on opening day, and everyone is there because they're trying to save a buck. And the parents come there with all their pool supplies, little styrofoam thing. It was just bad. It was like, honestly, if I have kids, I'm like, okay, look, if we can't come in there maybe with one bag, we're not going to go. One bag, basically you don't want to go there looking like a tourist on that, and that's what they were. They were just horribly tourists. Ugh. So Wimpy Kid's plan is to spend the whole summer just doing video games. That's it. All he's going to do is video games, and then talk to the girl that he's interested in, which I think her name's Heather. It's hard for me to keep them all straight. Now the cameos, the Fraggle redhead kid, Riley the bigger redhead kid, the other younger kid, I think he's East Indian or something like that. I don't even catch his name. And then you had the bully girl, which is really just an analogy from Lucy from Peanuts. I'm sorry, the author ripped that off. The typical... Actually, it's even before that. It was Lucy from Peanuts. It was the character with glasses from Dennis the Menace. There was just a lot... She was the typical allegory bully girl that... It's not really pretty, but kind of a bully. And then you had the blonde that he was interested in, and how she was like really cute, and she was going to be dating him, and he's like, oh, I want to go beyond. And what's funny about this, it's hard to relate because this is like they're in 7th grade, so like I want to be more than friends, and then the 7th grade mentality is like, wow. Oh boy, things have changed. So it was rather funny. But then you had the typical father trying to be a role model to his kid, but trying to, you know, like do all these outdoor things. But then what the wimpy kid's thought is I'm going to get through this whole summer by a step ahead of my dad. I'm going to play video games all day, and just, you know, no one's going to bother me. It's going to be great. And then what happens is he actually times a day where he plays video games all day, and then he has an alarm clock at 5 o'clock right before his dad gets home, so then he goes out, turns on the sprinklers, gets sprayed so he looks like he's sweating, comes in wearing football. Yeah, I played sports. Dad's like, yeah. And then he finds out, dad goes over to look at the TV, he turns on the TV in the video game, and he's like, you've been playing video games all day. You're lying. And then Roderick starts laughing, saying like, ha, bust. And he says, oh, you think this is funny? And the father says, fine. He pulls out all the cords and no TV for the whole summer for everyone. And they're like, that is messed. So the father says, and then typical father makes the punishment, then goes into his cave downstairs. And the wife runs in, interferes, and says, hey, this is messed up. You always complain about your father didn't do anything with you. Well, here's your opportunity, and you're not being what your dad did to you. You're doing the same thing your dad is doing. So then you had the wimpy kid and Roderick sitting on the couch looking at each other like, oh man, what did we get ourselves into now? And so the dad tries to do all the things like fishing, Civil War reenactments, all sorts of stuff. It always goes wrong. That no matter what he does, and it's typical father-son relationship, and the son's trying, but the dad is like, oh, you're so clueless, blah, blah, blah. So then he finds out Riley goes to this country club, and then Riley calls him up, says, hey, you want to go to the country club? And he's like, we can spend all days outdoors. All right, but, big but, the mom comes up, she started this book club, says, hey, do you want to see what the little women are doing today? Riley, I'll be right there. She's no problem. Click. So they go to the country club, and lo and behold, the wimpy kid says, this is it, and he sees this beautiful pool, only 3 people in it, wonderful, drinks, smoothies, and they're having a time of their lives. And then he finds out that the blonde girl that he's interested in, Heather, I think her name, is there too. And she teaches tennis for little kids. So what happens is that everything kind of keeps going. They're having a great time. And then they go out. Eventually they find themselves on some boardwalks. I don't know where they live exactly, because I think they started the film in Los Angeles. But I guess the locale like kind of moved to Northern Cal, or like mixture of Colorado and the East Coast. I have no clue what they did. It's just everywhere. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's a movie. Who cares? So anyway, they go to the film. They go to the country club, and they come back, or the kid comes back, and the dad's like, I got you a summer intern in my office, and he just pictures him sitting in a cubicle, and he's like, no! He says, Dad, I got a job at the country club. They're like, yeah, you're the man. Good job. And they held this lie up for years because he always went to the country club. But eventually the lie gets caught up with, because the dad of Riley finds out that their bill is triple because they've been eating all these smoothies. And the dad says, what the you know, he's at the office and like, that's your son. And he's like, no, that is not my son. And then he goes, and then the wimpy kid's dad comes in and says, here's your sunblock. And they're like, don't you work here? They're like, sir, we don't employ minors. And he just looks at him and says like, ugh. So he goes in there, he pays the bill, makes it right. And then he gets this idea about joining the Wilderness Club, which is just an allegory of the Boy Scouts. But here's the thing, while they're doing this, they get a package from a boys' boarding school to send children to youth, and they watch this video. Broderick and the wimpy kid watch this video where they have ankle tracers on kids. They have, I read books, mathematics, and all this stuff. And it was really, on some ways I could see it be beneficial, in other ways it was really not appropriate for him on that, because he's just a typical kid. He just got caught up in a whirlwind high adventure, and unfortunately his parents got caught in the middle. So it goes to wilderness thing, and they're trying, and then they find out, they hear the neighbor across the street dad said like how much his dad's a loser. So he defended his father's honor by pulling a prank, but the prank of course goes horribly wrong on the other dad. But then in the chaos of the prank, the wimpy kid's father looks over to the other dad's tent and sees televisions, microwaves, instant war. He's like, you are a phony. Forget you. We're out of here. And then they go to the hotel, and then he tells the son the truth. I hate camping. I was like, I like houses and everything. And he told the truth. And at that moment, there was some father-son bonding there, where it's like, I'm with you on this, but I wanted you to go, you know, to the next level. I wanted you to be better than I was, which is cool. Now, through all this chaos, Roderick was at the same time, the brother was interested in this one girl who was turning 16, which happened to be the sister of the wimpy kid's girl that he's interested in. And she's having a sweet 16. Well, his band shows up, plays, turns into a total disaster, but it was such a memorable thing. And the most awesome scene in the movie is they had a chocolate fondue thing that exploded. All the Sweet 16 and all the girls are covered in chocolate, and Riley, the kid with the strawberry, looks at not the sister, but the best friend of the sister of the, I forget, they never really said her name. And he looks at her like this, and she's like, go for it. And he takes the strawberry, and he just shoom. It was just the funniest thing, because you could see his faces, and it wasn't bad. He's just looking at the strawberry. He says, I want chocolate, and you're covered in it. So that was really funny. I'm sure for the adults there was a connotation in it, but it was hilariously how they did it. So they really did a good job of that. However, during the film, I thought there was a lot of lies and a lot of, typical distrust with Riley and the wimpy kid. I thought Riley was actually hitting on the wimpy kid's girl at the country club, because the girl, Riley's girl at the country club, teaches little kids how to play tennis. And not to mention, the blonde was supposed to give the phone number to Riley, but then only got the last two digits. And one of their wisdom, this is an example of too much knowledge, or too little knowledge, is they got the whole phone number for this girl except the last two digits. So the solution is dial all the numbers till they get the right one. And they reached everybody under the sun, and they were like, this is, after 30, like, this is really not that smart of an idea. And trust me, this is with a little knowledge, and I've done dumb stuff like that before. Overall, I really actually enjoyed the film. I thought it was better than the sequel. The second one, which I did watch that too, I thought it was way better, because it was a little older personality. Except the one thing I want to mention that was just jacked is they had a preview with this Nickelodeon movie called Fun Size, where a chicken fell down, one of these stands for a chicken stand fell down, and this chicken popped. Well, it fell down on a cart, and it started popping like this, so it looked like it was doing the wild thing with the car. And I was like, that was the only one thing. I was like, what? This is supposed to be a kid's movie, and they're showing this chicken like doing a car, and he had a girl that was inside the car going, yeah, just crying. And it's like, what? Anyway, that was the only thing. Otherwise, good movie. Gotta go, 15 minutes out. Later.